Good morning. We've been doing this for a while now, haven't we? We've been doing this Zoom church for a while, and it's different and it works. We have found, when we talk about the daily word for today, the affirmation of infinite possibilities, the way that we've been able to stay connected and to share tender moments. I'm staying in the gallery view because I want to watch all of you. I don't need to watch myself. That's gotten kind of boring for me anyway. and wow, so it's just good to be here. It's good to see you. I'm glad that we have a dog. I see there's a dog here, and we have a younger person. I'm grateful for that. Hi. Yeah, anyway, that's really great. My dog is somewhere. I think he gets tired of listening to me, so he's probably outside somewhere. My husband's here listening to me, so I'm grateful for that and grateful for all of you. It's just such a tender thing. So, I wanted to mix things up a little bit. I want to start with some meditation and then go into the lesson with just some experience. So, this meditation will be a little more guided than I usually do. In fact, it will be guided, but I will also have a time of silence because I know for you and for me, that's so precious. Even though we're not together touching in person, we're touching this way and to be silent together. I'm just so astonished how well this has worked and how full I feel looking and being with all of you. So thank you for having me here and to be here yourself. So, the petri dish for feel beliefs is feeling when we feel separate, when we feel disconnected, when we feel isolated, when we feel like we don't belong. And for us to heal, for us to know our intrinsic worth, we need to reconnect and find our way back to belonging to ourselves, belong to each other, belong to the earth. We need to reconnect in love. And in these moments when we might feel inferior or superior, we've lost touch with that sense of worth, with that sacredness. And so our judgments of ourselves, of each other, it obscures the goodness, it obscures the gold. And so the thought that's a prayer here, because as we know, our thoughts are prayers, is that we deepen our dedication to our own intrinsic worth, because that allows us to widen our circle. So we can realize the sacredness of all life, and that's needed for the healing of the world. So all of us in our own separate places, all of you, I invite you now to maybe scooch around, shift your position so you're comfortable, to take a few deep breaths, to just know that from the waist up, you look fabulous. And to know that we are truly all one. If you're comfortable, to allow your eyes to close and to listen to my words and let them enter your heart. Yes, the breath is so vital to our paying attention. It's so right here. It so brings us to our present moment. So I invite you now, in scanning your life right now, you might bring to mind a repeated experience in a relationship that brings up discomfort, uneasiness, maybe even suffering. Could be with a partner, someone else in your family, a friend, someone you work with. And once you've identified this experience where you end up feeling hurt or maybe angry or distance, ask yourself, what am I believing about myself? And notice if you recognize any beliefs that you may not be lovable, that you can't handle things well, that you're going to be rejected. Notice if any of that comes up. What is that deepest belief about yourself? So, recognizing whatever you can that you may be believing. And for a moment, allowing doesn't mean you're agreeing with what you believe. It just means that you're pausing here. You're pausing so you can shine the light of awareness and to begin to investigate. You might ask yourself, is that true? Is it really true about me? Is it really true? And see if you can sense a possibility of real but not true. It's real because it's an experience you're having, but it might not be true about who you truly are. Because you could even ask yourself, how long have I been believing this thing about myself? And there might be some feelings that come up, there might be an image or two. And then ask yourself, what has it been like to live with this belief, this limiting negative belief? How has it affected my relationships, my work? How has it affected my leisure moments, my vacations, my time away? How has it affected my body? How has it affected my heart? And from that place in you that's most caring and most wise, that's witnessing this experience, you might sense what is most needed. What does this part of you need most? Simply just be with that. What's the message most needed now? What might you ask yourself to trust or to remember? And if it helps, call on a spiritual figure, a friend, a part of the natural world, something to help you offer care. You might even place your hand on your heart right now. You can offer care through your hand to your heart. Care, prayer, to trust your inner goodness, to trust love, to turn towards love, and to notice the presence that is already here. There's a song we sing in unity. Love is already here. God is already here. Presence is already here. And in that, to shift from this feeling of a self that is some way limited, this negative thought or thoughts you might have about yourself, to simply be this presence. You may find yourself a few degrees more open or wider, tender, or maybe profoundly so. You might ask yourself, what would my life be like if I wasn't believing something's wrong with me? What would it be like if I wasn't listening or believing to that thought, that voice that tells me something's wrong? And maybe you can feel an extra freedom in your body right now, in this presence. Who would you be if you didn't believe something was wrong with you? And to feel that depth in your heart, that depth of longing, and that dedication to the truth that you truly know that you and we are all one, to that sacred presence that lives throughout all life, that truth of your being, the sacredness of your heart, of your intention. of that gold that is you. We'll take a little time now to embody this in the silence, in the silence, in the silence. And as you are ready, consciously take a few full breaths, just easy breaths. Notice how it fills your belly, your lower chest, your upper chest, your throat, and how relaxing your exhalation can be and is. Beginning to allow your awareness to return to this time and this place of us together in this new and different way that we're together. We give thanks, so much gratitude that we can explore this. Thank you for exploring this with me, and may your heart be lightened. And so it is. Amen. There's a book by Tom Shepard. He's a Unity minister and author, quite a prolific author. And the book is called The Many Faces of Prayer. And there's just one piece in there that I really like. Is this, excuse me a minute, Tom, I'm seeing you pick up your guitar and I'm wondering if this is a song time. In my order of service, it is not. Okay, good. I'm not doing it wrong. I'm not wrong. Yay. I try to be a good girl. Ah, aren't we amazing how in a second, I can go, oh no, I got this wrong. I wrote it up and I got it wrong. Oh my gosh, it's instantaneous, isn't it? Anyway, this is something, it's a little thing called Waiting for the Water to Boil by someone named Tom Driver. And it's in this book, The Many Faces of Prayer. And I just love it. And I think it speaks to us this morning. So I'll just read this. He says, standing at the kitchen stove early in the morning, looking past it through an open window, I feel sleepy, unfocused, fragmented, waiting for the coffee water to boil. An impulse to pray arises in me, but the thought of God remains as vague and unfocused as I feel myself to be at this moment. I am not in the mood for words. A few months ago, I was in India, and now, without consciously thinking about what to do, I find myself raising my hands in front of my face and putting palms together, the way Indians do in their gesture of respect. And quickly, my emotions change. I become aware of a stir of energy in my body. My hands, still together, move downward until they're in front of my navel. I feel centered for the first time since arriving in this day, in this moment. And the tree leaves outside the window begin to sparkle. And during this little rite, which I've never performed before, no words pass through my consciousness. I am quiet and still. Theologically, there's nothing or everything to say about it. Some, including myself, would call this a prayer. others not. In any case, it was short and subtle, and it was a ritual of transformation. When I think back of Unity teachings and it's been 30 years now since Hal and I graduated from ministerial training. And so many things and so many voices from our instructors and the people who are with stick with me, and so much, of course, is gone. However, what I absolutely love and stay with is this idea that Charles Fillmore so brilliantly wrote about, that we have the ability in any moment to change what we're thinking about. We can't really change what we're feeling as easily, but we can change where we put our attention. And so that one gesture or whatever we did with our meditation this morning, which I'll refer to again later, it's so very powerful. And so, a question I ask you to answer for yourself, and maybe with each other later, or what are the rituals, the prayer moments, conscious or not, that you've been engaging in during this time of being mostly at home? The beautiful sound of the kettle water as you pour it into your cup, or for me, through the French press for my coffee. The clanking of dishes and cutlery in the dishwasher. The pull of the dog leash on your morning walk, firing up the barbecue for last night's dinner, or simply arising quietly in the morning and do the little things that you do to prepare you for the day. At the beginning, it was so quiet, wasn't it? I mean, we just shut down and we were quiet. There weren't cars. There were a lot of people. I look out the window. Because there's continually people walking by with their dogs. Since the pandemic and began, and now still going on, but it was just people walking and smiling at each other, nodding, not much traffic, and that ability to kind of have our own meditation retreat, it seemed like. And as wonderful it's been to reopen, I kind of miss that energy that we all had of just staying still. How do we, as a human family, meet our spiritual needs? And we all have the different ways that we do it. It's so simple. It's been a really tough year. I mean, I've found it pretty difficult. I'm an extrovert and I need and want this kind of connection. And I love looking at you all on my screen, but I wish I was there and, that we had more of this, which we will have soon. Between the pandemic, the fires and smoke last fall, the chaos nationally, internationally, the divisiveness, the fear. We need community. We need each other. And we need the truth teachings from all paths, because all paths lead to God, to spirit. My thoughts are prayers, and I need to recognize what's happening, allow life to be just what it is, investigate with gentle attention, nurture myself and others. And that's the R.A.I.N acronym, which I'll go into a little more deeply in a few moments. I think the medicine we need most right now for ourselves and each other is compassion. As a species, to heal the suffering, to set ourselves free. And while we each have this capacity for love and compassion, it's by intentional practice that we develop a true, wise, and caring heart. I think about what Charles Fillmore talked about, the second coming of the Christ, how that first birth is just what we are and who we are and what we have been given, because each one of us is a divine being. And there's different times that we know that more than other times. But the second birth, the second coming, is when we begin to develop that consciously. I mean, there's some of us that just walk around light-filled and open-hearted all the time. That's not me. I have to practice this. I have to practice the presence. And that's what we get to do when we come together like this. It's very rich and very wonderful. And so we practice and we practice and we practice. And I love it when people say, I can't meditate because my mind's always going. Well, meditation, mindfulness is the practice of mindfulness. And I love it when we have younger people that engage with our teachings and our services. I'm sorry we don't have our YOU and those kinds of things going on right now because it's so powerful to have that experience with each other, with our peers. But to know that we can open our heart at any moment through our intention and that we can touch this presence that we experience. From the book of Matthew, the 9th chapter. Then suddenly a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years, a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages, from bleeding for 12 years, came up behind him and touched the fringe of his cloak. For she said to herself, if I only touch his cloak, I will be made well. Jesus turned and seeing her, he said, take heart, daughter. Your faith has made you well. This fringe from his tallis, just touching the hem of the garment. That is so powerful. What is that? What are those moments? How do we do that? When have you had that experience of merely touching the hem, the fringe, like a butterfly wing? That just tender, tender thing that happens. And do we dismiss it? Do we enhance it? Do we find ways that we can practice that presence, that full awareness? God is not over there somewhere, and although sometimes we need to go, help me, but this is God. All this is God. All this is presence. And I've probably said this to you many times because I think it to myself all the time. Eric Butterworth, our great Unity author and minister, said, we are not like the raisin in the bun. We are the drop of water in the wave. And so there's not any separation. We are all of it. And as we can align and connect ourselves, and this year's been an experience like no other, hasn't it? To keep that alive. Some of you I know live alone and you've been alone this whole time. I feel so blessed to have a partner and a wonderful dog, a wonderful partner and a wonderful dog. So that's been very, very wonderful for me. Rumi wrote, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you've built against it. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Take some time with yourself. What have you been doing this year? Because it really is a year. It's a little over a year now that everything changed so dramatically. I think there's been a lot of, oh my God, why has this happened to me? Why has this happened to all of us? Some of us have lost our friends and our family. Some of us have been ill ourselves. Some of us have had our vaccines. Some of us have not yet. We're sort of waiting for that turn, but you can feel it, can you? We live in Napa and it's very busy downtown Napa. It's a little too busy for my taste right now for me, but we stay masked and we stay safe for now. But people want to get out and be in touch with each other. So this R.A.I.N acronym comes from Tara Brach. Some of you might be familiar with her. She's a wonderful meditation teacher. I think she's also a psychotherapist. She's out of the Washington, D.C. area, but she's very involved with the Vipassana trainings and with Spirit Rock. She and Jack Cornfield, I think, teach together, and they're actually presenting right now a 2-year kind of course to be able to teach meditation in a clearer way. But this book she's written, the one that I I've been using is called Radical Compassion, Learning to Love Yourself and Your World with the Practice of R.A.I.N, this little piece. So this acronym R.A.I.N is so easy to remember. And so the R is for recognize what's going on. See, this is what we did in the meditation. That's why I want to do the meditation first. If we reflect back, R is recognize what's going on. I'm feeling upset. I'm concerned. I'm just sitting here right now. I'm here in this experience. A is allow the experience to be here just as it is. Don't we want to just shove it back and not deal with it? This A is allowing it to just sit and be here with us. The I is investigate. Investigate with interest and care. Gee, why is that like that? What have I done? What am I believing about myself that isn't true? And N is for nurture. Nurture with self-compassion. R is recognize what's going on. A is allowing it to just be here, just as it is. I is to investigate with interest and with care. And N is to nurture with self-compassion, which is what we did in our meditation. I've had a real, you know, expanded course, what the accelerated course this year in the self-nurturing and the self-compassion, because I'm not getting it from out there the way I've expected it or wanted it. I've had to do it here. And I tell you, hand on the heart for me, really, that really helps. For Tom, it's holding his guitar, and just being able to just express through that and know that that's a way for him. Some of us have our yoga practice, our writing practice, our music practice, our taking a walk practice, whatever that is that reminds us and brings us back and returns us. Some of us like to listen to meditations that other teachers and ministers record. Some of us like to be just in our total silence. And so this idea of rain, and somewhere I know I sent something out to Harker, so it's explained in the little blurb. I don't know if that's in your newsletter or on the website, but it's there, and it's something you can look up as well. Great. Because, at first I have to tell you, I thought this was pretty lightweight, and I didn't really give it much. Yeah. But then I just started using this, and I got very deep with it. And I noticed that I have come out each time with this enhanced self sense of the presence, a presence, my presence, your presence. So you can take your time with it. You can use it as a standalone meditation, move through the steps whenever sort of challenging experiences come in. Let's see what else I want to tell you about it. I'm just going to go through it again because I have my notes. I wrote all this down for you. I don't want you to miss a thing. So the recognize what's going on, consciously acknowledging in any given moment the thoughts, the feelings, the behaviors that are affecting you. This can be done with a simple mental whisper, noting what you're most aware of. I have a particular difficult relationship in my life. You probably don't, but I do. It's not someone here in my home. And I realized like another thing that this person has told me is upset about with me. And I've just sort of let it go. But it just started working on me. It's like, is that true? Which, again, allow the experience to be just there, letting the thoughts and the emotions and the feelings or sensations simply be there without trying to fix it, without trying to avoid it, feeling it in my body, recognizing a fear, saying to myself, it's okay, this belongs, yes. And this allowing creates a pause that makes it possible to deepen the attention. I think I did a sermon years ago I called The Power in the Pause. That stopping and to really experience the experience, as uncomfortable as it may be. And once that I've acknowledged that I'm accepting this experience, to investigate the I with care, with interest. My natural curiosity to know the truth. What in me wants more attention? What am I experiencing? How am I experiencing this in my body? What am I believing? What does this vulnerable place in me need? What does it need the most? Because I have no power over what somebody else thinks or does or decides about me, believes about me, but I have that power. And how much I let that in and affect me and erode my own sense of myself because I know who I am. And so that's a gift when I get that. Because whatever the inquiry is, my investigation will be most transformational if I step away from conceptualizing and bring my primary attention to the felt sense in my body. Now, that's something I've been working with a lot lately. Maybe you have that felt, they call it a felt sense. Is your belly a twitter? Do you feel it in your chest? Is your throat tightening? Are you tightening up your jaw? Do you tighten your buns? What's going on that you can be aware of that has been created from whatever the experience is? Are you holding anywhere? And then we get to nurture ourselves, nurture with self compassion. It arises naturally in moments when we recognize that we're suffering, doesn't it? As we intentionally nurture our inner life with self care. This is what we have to do. We have to sense what that wounded, frightened, hurting place inside us means. And it's probably something very old. And we can nurture our own small child within. We can nurture that part of ourselves. Does it need a message of reassurance or forgiveness, companionship, love? It could be what is the most intentional gesture of kindness to soften and open your heart? It could be just this mental whisper to yourself, I'm here with you. I'm sorry. I love you. I'm listening. It's not your fault. Trust in your own goodness. And if it's difficult to offer yourself this love and compassion, bring to mind a spiritual being, your beautiful dog, a friend, a family member. Imagine that the love from that person or being and that wisdom is flowing through you. Now, one of the great things that we do and that Tara Brach does is she's come out now with something she calls after the rain. So after the rain, it's important to notice the quality of your own presence, she says, and to rest in this wakeful, tender space of awareness. The fruit of rain is no longer being imprisoned by it or identifying with a limiting sense of self. Look, at this time of our lives, and most of us have been around a long time, and some of us are just newbies on the planet, but most of us have been around a long time. We know who we are. We don't need that deep probing, what. Here we are and we're showing up. And some of us are hurting and some of our bodies are hurting. But here we are. Give yourself that. Even right now, put your hands here and give yourself your own love. Give yourself your own warmth. Give yourself your own compassion. This gift of being familiar with the truth and the natural freedom of your being, this mystery, this preciousness that you are, comes from you, to you. It's not coming from me or the prayer chaplain or God up in the sky or Jesus on the cross. It's right here, right now, from you to you. Right now, you are touching the hem of the garment. That Christness is yours completely, whether it's the full cloak or just the hem. I have two favorite poems, both by Jane Oliver. Here's one of them. Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes. over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains, the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. Thank you for being with me. It's such an honor. Shalom, namaste, amen. All is well. As we go out into this day, into our inner world and outer world, we truly, truly touch the hem of the garment and live in this expansive, unlimited presence that is the one power and one presence. For all our good and for everything, we say thank you. Thank you, sweet spirit. Amen and amen.